Ambassador. Elena Vasquez adjusted her pristine white diplomatic uniform as she entered the sprawling conference chamber aboard the neutral station orbiting Kepler 442b. The room buzzed with the chittering, growling, and harmonic vibrations of 17 different alien species, each representing their respective galactic powers. At the center of it all sat the Zephyrian High Council, their crystalline forms refracting the chamber's light into prismatic rainbows. The humans were late to this galactic community, barely 2 centuries since first contact, while some of these civilizations had been spacefaring for millennia. They were viewed as the curious upstarts, the primitive mammals who had somehow stumbled into faster-than-light travel through what the Zephyrians called brute force engineering, rather than elegant mathematical harmony. Today's emergency session had been called because of the Devourers, a machine intelligence that had already consumed 3 star systems in the Outer Rim, converting all organic and inorganic matter into more of itself. The assembled species had tried everything. The Kethalari had deployed their reality-bending weapons, the Morgathans had unleashed their planet-cracking dreadnoughts, and the Ethereal Collective had attempted to phase-shift entire fleets into parallel dimensions. Nothing worked. High Counselor Zixathera's crystalline voice rang out across the chamber. The Devourer swarm approaches the Centauri Junction. If they claim that system, they will have access to 17 major hyperspace routes. We calculate total galactic consumption within 4 standard cycles. The chamber erupted in panicked harmonics and subsonic growls. Elena simply smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. It was the kind of smile that revealed just a hint of canine teeth, the evolutionary remnant of humanity's predatory ancestry. Several nearby delegates instinctively shifted away from her, their threat assessment instincts triggering ancient prey responses. "The human delegation requests permission to speak," Elena said, her voice cutting through the chaos with practiced authority. Zixthera's form flickered with what Elena had learned was disdain. "The young species wishes to contribute?" "How quaint. Very well, Ambassador Vasquez. What wisdom do the mammals offer?" Elena stood, her movement fluid and controlled. Around the chamber she could see the micro-expressions of dismissal, the subtle body language that screamed primitive species should know their place. She had expected this. She had counted on it. "Honored delegates," Elena began, her smile widening slightly. "You have all approached the Devourer problem with admirable logic. You've calculated optimal firing solutions, analyzed their adaptive algorithms, and attempted to outthink a machine intelligence with computational power exceeding your finest quantum arrays." She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the assembled aliens. "But you've all made the same fundamental error. You've assumed this is a problem that requires intelligence to solve." The Morgathan war chief, a creature resembling a cross between a rhinoceros and a tank, snorted derisively. "Foolish human. Of course this requires intelligence. The Devourers adapt to every strategy within nanoseconds." Elena's smile became predatory. "Exactly. They adapt to strategy, to intelligence, to logical thought patterns." She began walking around the central platform, her steps measured and deliberate. "But tell me, noble delegates, what happens when a machine intelligence encounters something that isn't trying to outsmart it?" The ethereal representative, a being of pure energy contained within a geometric framework, pulsed with confusion. "Your words make no sense, human. How does one defeat a superior force without strategy? By being what you've always called us." Elena replied, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. "Primitives." She touched a control on her wrist, and the chamber's holographic display shifted to show the human fleet, not the sleek diplomatic vessels most had seen, but something else entirely. Hundreds of ships that looked like they'd been assembled in a junkyard, bristling with weapons that defied every civilized convention of warfare. "While you've been calculating optimal approaches," Elena continued, "we've been doing what humans do best. We've been getting angry, and we've been getting creative. Our ships aren't running sophisticated AIs or elegant tactical algorithms. They're controlled by human pilots hopped up on combat stimulants and bad coffee, flying by instinct and spite." The display showed human vessels engaging the Devourer swarm in ways that made the assembled delegates recoil. Ships ramming into Devourer constructs at near light speed, weapons that seemed to violate 6 interstellar warfare conventions, tactics that could only be described as aggressively suicidal. "You see," Elena explained, her predator's smile now full display, The Devourers can adapt to any logical strategy because they can predict logical behavior. But there's nothing logical about a human who's been told their homeworld is threatened. Nothing logical about someone who'll strap a nuclear warhead to their ship and fly it straight into the enemy because that's the simplest solution to a complex problem. The chamber had gone, silent except for the soft harmonic distress signals of several delegates. Our fleet reached the Devourer swarm 6 hours ago, Elena announced casually. By the time this session ends, the threat will be eliminated. Not through superior technology or brilliant strategy, but through the simple application of controlled violence and the kind of stubborn refusal to die that kept us alive long enough to reach the stars. High Counselor Zixthara's form flickered rapidly. This is impossible. Our calculations showed. Your calculations, Elena interrupted, her smile becoming almost gentle, didn't account for the fact that sometimes the best response to an unstoppable force is an immovable object with anger management issues and access to antimatter. As if summoned by her words, a communication alert chimed. The holographic display shifted to show Fleet Admiral Chen, his face streaked with ash and his uniform torn, but his grin visible even through the static. Ambassador, he reported, Devourer swarm neutralized. Turns out they really don't know how to adapt when you just keep hitting them with bigger and bigger hammers until they break. Elena turned back to the assembled delegates, her diplomatic mask sliding back into place. Though that predatory edge never quite left her smile, the human delegation would like to formally propose an addition to our mutual defense protocols, she said sweetly. Sometimes the galaxy doesn't need more intelligence. Sometimes it just needs someone willing to pick up a really big stick and start swinging. In the silence that followed, Elena reflected on humanity's place in this galactic community. They might never be the smartest species, or the most technologically advanced, or the most civilized. But when the monsters came calling, they were exactly what the galaxy needed. And that thought made her smile,